another chapter of Unleash Your Mind. So I wrote some posts, and let me read the post to you, and then you can know exactly what I'm talking about. So the post is like this. In life, the main concern is not how to climb on a tree, but to know how to get off it safely. So I wrote this post, and a woman responded, a friend responded to me, and she was laughing and said it's funny. I said, why was it funny? So share with me why, maybe let me understand. And she, I don't know, just funny. And I said, fine, but you know, many people, and I want to share that with you. Let's think deep on that sentence. This, to know how to climb on a tree, but it's more important to know how to get off the tree and to be safe. And how many times you went out with your spouse, or you went with a friend, and there was, let's assume a story, you went with a spouse, and it was a nice evening, you planned to go to a nice restaurant, to have a bottle of wine, and somebody said something, you or she said something, she or you, whatever, and suddenly it's created a fuss, created a problem, created an argument, created a fight, whatever, an explosion. Now, why is that? Because something was bothering you or her. Something, and whether the same story is, it's with a friend of yours, something was disturbing, something was not clear, something touched the ego. And the ego is the main thing here, because somebody told us something and we respond to it. Now the question, how are we going to respond? So we know how to say, we can say something, and that's exactly the story to get off the tree safe. Most people really are not thinking before they respond. And in English, it's very accurate. Not like in other words, like in languages that I know. In English, it's very accurate because we have respond and we have reaction. And there's a big difference. The reaction is when I'm responding from my instincts, from my intuition. Not exactly intuition. Intuition always leading us for good, but it's more from the instincts. And it usually will be more aggressive, more fighting manner or attitude, because we just reacted. We didn't think about what we were told. We didn't think about what was said there. We just heard something. The ego got hurt. The ego decided to fight, and we were reacting. Somebody, a friend, by mistake, push you, and you push him back. But there's another way. The other way is to respond. And respond means that I'm thinking about it. I'm evaluating the situation. I'm evaluating what was said. I'm evaluating my emotions regarding what I was just told. And then I can solve the issue in a better situation, in a better way than just reacting. So if my friend pushed me by mistake and I'm pushing back, it's like to give another push to the snowball down the hill. And that's not always what we want, because there is a saying, we know how the war starts, but we never know how it's going to end. And that's exactly the issue here. Imagine like you're going to climb on the Mount Everest. If you're not going to plan how you're going to climb down, to come down from the mountain, probably the chances to survive are very small. And that's exactly like I was teaching for many years, being a diving instructor. When there's a problem underwater, you want to solve it down under the water. You don't want to go up and just shoot yourself up and then to find a solution, because then you're going into a bigger problem than you were underwater. And I was teaching that for many years, teaching diving. I was working exactly on that mindset of safety. Think, see, evaluate the situation, think about it. It takes seconds to think about it, and then start solving it, but not reacting and jumping out. And I can say that this method, this way, it's not a method either, this way of responding, not reacting, saved my life several times during diving. Actually, it saved my life. I'm here because I was responding and I was not reacting. For one story, being a military, I did a check, the hull of a ship, and the ship was hanging in the port, attached to the mooring, and the fenders, there's this huge tires of tracks that between the mooring and the ship was moving and hitting those tires. And I did the one side of the hull, and then I did the inner side of the hull between the mooring and the ship, and I was checking it underneath and under the hull, and suddenly I heard a noise. I was on my own. It was a military dive. And I heard the noise. I heard the puck, and I stopped everything. I knew something happened. It was a rare sound, and I decided I want to check it. I didn't know what's exactly. I was evaluating the situation, and I held my breath for seconds. And when I renew my breath, I start inhaling, getting water inside my mouth. Immediately, I spit the water out. I moved the hand in front of my mouth, and I noticed that I have the mouthpiece, the rubber piece of the regulator is still held in my mouth. That's why I thought everything is okay. But the regulator itself was disconnected from it because the band that was connecting between the mouthpiece and the regulator broke. Immediately, the first thing which I did, most people, I believe, I know from reaction, I've had many thousands of students, and I've seen the way people react. They just shoot up to the surface to solve the issue. And I went down, I went deeper, I went under the hull. I went under the hull because I knew it's safer there, because if I would go up in that side where I was, I could crash between the ship and the tires, the fenders. And by going down, just because I was thinking for another second and responding, not reacting, I saved my life. So what I'm saying here in this chapter, what I'm telling you, what I'm asking you is to start think. Start think before you respond, before you act, before you react, before whatever you do. Evaluate the situation in your life, whatever happens to you, and only then respond. Avoid reacting, avoid going aggressively, avoid bringing in your ego. Now, if somebody is saying, hey, that's who I am, it means that he doesn't really want to take responsibility over his ego and not to change to make himself a better person than he is. So it's not enough to say, that's who I am. That's the only way I know how to respond. No, I want to think about the things that happens in your life and to find the best solution, how to respond. Don't react. Thank you very much. This is Jacob Shepherd, and I hope you enjoyed that. If you're enjoying, you can welcome to add some comment, and you're welcome to subscribe and invite your friends. Thank you. Bye-bye.